All right, everybody. I wanted to hop on to report some major breaking news and just go over the news from today because it has been a long day and it's going to be a long night. Donald Trump has privately approved attack plans for Iran, but has withheld the final order. I want to run down what's happened today, what has changed, and what Donald Trump's current view is, because it seems to be changing on a minute-by-minute basis. He seems to be tweeting out contradictory things on an hourly basis, genuinely. So, if you want live breaking news updates, not only about the ongoing wars, but domestic affairs, make sure you drop a like below. Drop a like on the stream. Make sure you hit subscribe if you want to help join Mockler Media. Join the Mockler Mafia, should we call it? I don't know. Join whatever so that you can help us build this to an apparatus that will punch back against MAGA harder than we can imagine. So, before we even jump in to Trump privately approving attack plans for Iran and withholding the order, I want to talk a little bit about what's happened throughout the day, because Pete Hegseth got grilled. Tucker Carlson grilled Ted Cruz. It has been a bad day for the Republican Party, and there is a lot of infighting off the back of that. But just to run down the breaking news, we'll revisit it later. This says, President Trump told senior aides late Tuesday that he has approved of attack plans for Iran, but was holding off on giving the final order to see if Tehran will abandon its nuclear program. 3 people with deliberations said. Since his private instructions in the White House Situation Room to the military, Trump has disclosed publicly that attack is an option. Quote, I have ideas on what to do, but I haven't made I like to make final decisions 1 second before it's due. Yo, we know. That's why your indecision kind of signals weakness to the world. Indecision on a scale like this signals weakness. You want a decisive, lean, mean leader who is able to punch back not only against, authoritarian leaders like Vladimir Putin, but people like Netanyahu, who will openly and gladly dog walk Trump. Now, we'll talk a little bit about this more. Trump privately approving attack plans. Someone in chat says, I've been stressed the hell out. Here's the thing. Don't take Trump's bluster as something that is imminent. So, of course, the president's words carry a bunch of weight, and we will talk about that a lot here. But right now, Trump is blustering a lot, and I wouldn't stress over that. Of course, the situation as a whole is stressful, but let's continue. Trump has privately approved attack plans after running on a few core tenets. His thesis the entire campaign was, number 1, no new wars, but number 2, this never would have happened if I were the president. But now he's basically saying, it is happening. I can't do anything. This is how it's progressed. He said, if I were the president, I would end this in 24 hours. He then said, when I'm the president, we're going to end this in 24 hours. Then he was saying, I am the president. Nobody can solve this in 24 hours. Then he says, I'm the president, and I'm going to start World War III by essentially bombing Iran. One more time before we dig into the news. Donald Trump privately approved the attack plans, but has withheld the order. We will walk through all of this, but I do want to talk a little bit about Hegseth. I do want to talk a little bit about what's happened today, because boy, it has been a wild day. Let's start off here. Donald Trump is repeatedly spreading this, not even spreading, he's genuinely convinced that stealth jets are fully invisible in the sky. This is an infantile president, and we'll just start here.
And so I want to do that. And sometimes, stealth, they do stealth. I'm not a huge believer in stealth, because stealth is basically, a lot of it's designed into shape. And, I'm sure you maybe think, but also if that's the case, they're going to figure it out pretty fast, I think. So you're going to design an ugly plane for stealth reasons, and then 6 months later, they're going to figure out this, and then you're stuck with a plane. Now, we're doing brand new planes, totally stealth planes. I hope they're stealth. I don't know. That whole stealth thing, I'm sort of wondering. You mean if we shape a wing this way, they don't see it, but the other way they see it? I'm not so sure, but that's what they tell me. Yeah, we have the best military equipment in the world. You see that with this fight. We have planes that are undetectable, flying.
Thank you. Someone in chat said, bro has no idea how anything works. Literally nothing. You know, here's the thing. He knows how headlines work in the media. Like, that's the one thing Trump understands, is how he can create headlines, but he doesn't know anything about policy. Even Biden, in like 100-year-old Biden, would be able to run circles around Trump regarding anything in the Middle East.
Around, like, you know, nobody's able to see him stealth. You guys want to be stealthy tonight. You know, you can be stealth, you'll never lose, right? But these are incredible planes and weapons. We have the best weapons in the world.
Bro said one time, let's just nuke a hurricane. And then he drew, remember when the hurricane path was completely just forged by him? Okay, before we hop in to the main article, someone asked what is currently happening. Trump has privately approved attack plans for Iran, but has withheld the final order. It's going to be a long night as we get continual updates. Donald Trump is currently posturing, trying to say that he's going to strike Iran. But I do want to point out, you don't really know, you don't really know how serious he is. This dude lies like he breathes. Not only lies, but he's always just kind of throwing shit out there very recklessly. So we'll see how this progresses throughout the stream. But, you know, before we even dig into that news, I do want to show you this clip that kind of flew under the radar. So Pete Hegseth was getting grilled today, but Sarah Jacobs, Representative Sarah Jacobs, had an especially unique clip where she tricks him, and she basically says, do you think these three women in the military are qualified? And Pete Hegseth actually begins to praise them. He's like, yeah, they are qualified. They seem great. And then she drops the bombshell that they are transgender. Please just watch this clip as it unfolds.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, shit, my bad. And we'll talk about Iran in just 1 second.
Thank you, gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes a gentlelady from California, Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of our witnesses for being here. Secretary Hegseth, as you probably know, today is National Women's Veterans Day, and in your confirmation hearing and in subsequent conversations, you've said, and I'm quoting you now, women in our military have and continue to make amazing contributions across all aspects of our battlefield, and that women were some of the best soldiers you served with. Do you still stand by those statements?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. As you probably know, I represent San Diego, the biggest military community in the country, so I meet with countless service members all the time. And with your focus on emphasis and on merit and standards, I wanted to tell you about three incredible women in our military.
Just wait. It's coming. It's coming.
So the first woman is a major responsible for advanced collective warfighting training. Her officer evaluation report rates her as most qualified. And some of the comments included are, and I'm quoting now, she lives the Army values and demonstrates the warrior ethos daily. She rates within the top 5% of officers I've encountered in 18 years of military service. The second woman is an aviator with a record of over 50 combat missions, including deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. Two quotes from her most recent fitness report in April include, quoting again, "People excel under her leadership, and she has my strongest possible recommendation for promotion." The third woman is an instructor for an Army ROTC battalion. According to her evaluation report, her overall performance was rated at far exceeds standards, and the comments include, she is undoubtedly within the top 5% of non-commissioned officers I've worked with in my 22 years of service. Given their stellar qualifications and accomplishments and their record of surpassing standards, I assume that you agree that the Pentagon and the services should do everything they can to retain women like these, correct?
I would commend the major, the aviator, and the instructor for their service.
Oh, he would commend the aviator, the instructor, and the major for their service. He would even commend them. As someone in chat said, could you imagine Hegseth leading us into war or leading the military into war? No. I can smell the alcohol through the screen just thinking about it.
Great. I'm glad you agree, because I also believe we should be recruiting and retaining the very best and brightest in our country to serve in the military. And yet, you are actually kicking out these three highly qualified service members solely because of their identity. These are trans women. And you are using the very same arguments that have been used against desegregating the military or allowing women to serve or allowing gay people to serve. And in all those cases, those arguments were wrong.
She kind of just rolled him. He was like, I would even commend their service.
So I think it's clear that this is actually not about standards or, and I'm quoting you again, an equal, unwavering, gender-neutral, merit-based system, because if it were, you would be keeping these women in.
And I'm sorry, but if it were a merit-based system, Pete Hegseth wouldn't be here in the first place. Pete Hegseth would still be on Fox News. Maybe he was good for Fox News, sure, but not for whatever the hell he's doing now. It's certainly not leading the Department of Defense, but if this were based on merit, those 3 women would still be serving our country, and Pete Hegseth would be serving drinks or whatever.
Instead, you are the one injecting culture wars into the military, and it's at the detriment of our military readiness and national security. Now, General Kane, I'd like to turn to you.
So to be clear, these are men who think they're women.
These are women. I'm happy to educate you on...
Dude, you got rolled. Just give it up. Just give it up. By the way, if you're just joining, make sure to drop a like. Make sure to subscribe below. We will be providing breaking news updates as Donald Trump continues to escalate, as he approves the strikes on Iran, then backs down. We'll see what happens, but drop a like below.
These are men.
On trans
and so
issues at
what we've
time.
identified is that there's mental health issues with that belief system.
I'd like to turn to General
are
Kane
detrimental
now.
to readiness.
No, you just commended these people.
And that's the determination that we've made and that we stand behind. Gender dysphoria.
And so you don't
complications.
trust your commanding officers to be able to evaluate the people under them to decide if that were true, wouldn't that show up in their fit reps? And yet these fit reps are from the last 3 months, and all of their commanding officers say that they exceed standards. I'm turning to General Kane now. General Kane, I'd like to touch on something you said yesterday before the Senate Appropriations Committee.
Oh, she keeps
When
going.
asked whether the United States is under a foreign invasion, you said, at this point in time, I don't see any foreign state-sponsored folks invading. Despite that testimony, 2,000 National Guard troops have been federalized and deployed to Los Angeles, and 700 Marines from my community of Southern California are now on the ground there as well. And on Tuesday, President Trump, flanked by hundreds of uniformed troops, said they are there, said this is the reason they are there. They are there, I'm quoting now. Generations of Army heroes did not shed their blood on distant shores, only to watch our country be destroyed by an invasion. General, have you personally informed the president that according to your own assessment, there is no invasion?
Ma'am, first, you know, the definition of an invasion, whether or not that's a policy, that's really a policy decision. And, you know, from a military-only perspective, I, you know, stand by what I said yesterday.
What does that mean?
But, you know, my advice to the president in any particular matter from a security standpoint, or for the secretary for that matter, I you know, keep that between them.
I understand that, but the highest-ranking military advisor in the country does not believe there is an invasion, and yet the President of the United States is federalizing the National Guard and deploying
Gentlelady's time's expired.
in the name.
Ooh, she was cooking too hard that she ran out of time. You know what this reminds me of? Conservatives have such an unrealistic view on how transgender people, like, first of all, the amount in the population, but secondly, how transgender people even operate in the military. Pete Hegseth immediately pivots to mental health, which he's basically saying he doesn't think the commanders knew or understood that understood the mental health of the people beneath them, but also he just said before they did commendable work. I mean, check out this clip. This was one of my first ever Trump supporter interviews. This proves my point. Just check this out. What % of Americans do you think are transgender?
I would say before it was cool to be transgender, or before it was probably like, I would say 1.5, and now it's probably like 20%.
20%? Well, it's still 0.5%.
Oh, okay. I was pretty close on 1.5.
Pretty, yeah.
Transgender has just been publicized, just like other issues that they try to distract us from when it's more of a mental health issue.
Well, if it's a mental health issue, then wouldn't it follow that treatment would improve these people's quality of life?
Yeah.
So you're for gender-affirming care?
No.
That people who receive gender-affirming care have a way better quality of life than people who don't.
Are you just seeing it from the one side, or are you seeing both sides of it?
Well, tell me your side.
No, I'm just saying, have you seen the research on just the one side, or are you seeing it from both sides?
The opposite of gender-affirming care, I guess, would be conversion therapy. And there's 0 studies showing that conversion therapy works. Actually, that increases the suicide rate of trans people.
I don't know the statistics.
Of course I don't know the statistics. This continually happens over and over. Republicans make a fool of themselves. I mean, check out this clip of Tucker Carlson grilling Ted Cruz just today.
How many people live in Iran, by the way? I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
Come on. I mean,
how many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah.
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not
okay.
even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay,
actually,
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow.
You don't have to be an expert on Iran, but if you're a senator who has spent the vast majority of your adult life railing against a certain country, you should know some basic facts.
The government,
you're the one who
claims, know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
I'm sorry, but Ted Cruz did get absolutely spanked. Look at this freeze frame of Tucker Carlson. Jesus Christ. But someone said Tucker's actually making good points. Yes, Tucker's line of questioning is, of course, very solid here, but Tucker has his own ulterior motives with these lines of questioning. He's not some reformed journalist with moral clarity now. Tucker Carlson is literally playing his own game. I mean, the game ended up working here, but Tucker Carlson still contributed a lot to the current landscape. He spread the Dominion lie so much that it lost him his Fox News job, and now he's back. Yeah, this is kind of... But to continue, I want to talk about the war that's currently escalating right now, because somebody in chat was asking me why the title is phrased as it is. It's because Trump privately approved attack plans for Iran, but just withheld the final order. One more time, Donald Trump privately approved the attack plans so that the United States is getting involved in the war with Iran, but he has withheld the final order. The president is, yeah, we just got real serious. We were just making fun of Tucker 1 second ago, and now we're getting real serious. But to continue, the president is hoping that threatening to join Israel's strikes will lead Tehran to abandon its nuclear program. And we can read through a lot of this, but Trump told senior aides late Tuesday that he approved of attack plans for Iran, but was holding off on giving the final order to see if Tehran will abandon its nuclear programs, 3 people familiar with the deliberations said. Can I point out that Obama negotiated a deal, I believe in 2015 to be exact, and Trump pulled out of it? To read the donations very quickly. If reading books can turn you trans, and explain to me why I'm not a very hungry caterpillar. Very, very true. Thank you for the donations. They are women, unlike you, Pete Hegseth. Yeah, and these women who are in the military, just to go back 1 second, these women who Pete Hegseth wants to kick out of the military are there for more, for reasons related to meritocracy, more so than Pete Hegseth. If we were a true meritocracy, they would be in the military. They would be in these positions of power. Pete Hegseth wouldn't. But to continue, Trump is hoping that threatening to join Israel's strikes on Iran will get them to stop meeting his demands. But dude, you're basically Trump has this repeated pattern of tearing up deals that have already been made by previous leaders and even codified through Congress, and then trying to renegotiate those deals in a sloppy way. This is a prime example, and you can do research about this. In South Korea, in 2014, Obama negotiated a deal where we basically had free trade with South Korea. We were close allies with South Korea. Any United States president could call up the leader of South Korea and just talk to them because they were our allies. But now Trump ripped up that trade deal. After ripping it up, he tried to renegotiate an even more sloppy trade deal, ended up arriving at the same place Obama did, but now it's just like a taped up piece of ripped up paper, and it's not even codified through Congress. Meaning in 4 years, or in 3.5 years, the next administration will have to continue to renegotiate with South Korea. Rather than just having one consistent policy, Donald Trump tears up deals and tries to piece them back together. That is exactly what he's doing right now because he tore up the deal that Obama negotiated. To continue, Trump said in the Oval Office, quote, "I have ideas on what to do, but I haven't made a final. I'd like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due." Yeah, we know, bro. We know. I mean, your decisions are so poorly thought through. Trust me, we can tell. We also have some rather funny breaking news right here. JD Vance just set up an account on Blue Sky, the platform Blue Sky. He said, "I just set up my page on Blue Sky. Hope to see you guys there." They're trying to raid Blue Sky. He said, "Hello, Blue Sky. I've been told this app has become the place to go for common sense political discussion." He then starts talking about medical care for transgender youth. And Midas Touch then says, and it's gone. JD Vance's Blue Sky account is already gone. Drop some blue hearts in the chat for that. Drop a like on the stream, and let's start getting into the analysis and the breaking news updates. I mean, we've already done a lot of analysis here, but let's start getting deeper into this. Already gone. You know he's going to like post a tweet on Twitter or whatever saying that the left is attacking him because he got banned from Truth Social. They're going to be such babies about this. Something that we need to keep in mind when talking about the Iran war is that the government is very, very different from the people who live in Iran. The people who live in Iran very much so don't like the government. We can look at polls later in the stream. We will continue to break down the articles and do research, but just for the people joining, Trump has approved attack plans for Iran. The No New Wars president has approved attack plans. Thank you for becoming a member, Glenn Godfrey, and thank you also, Lisa, for becoming a member. You can become a member below to help support Mockler Media as we build this out. The people of Iran are innocent, Ali very well said. Yeah, which is why it's just, I don't know, I see people not cheering on the war, but people are almost giddy that one side is getting struck or the other, but it's really disgusting. I mean, this is bad. The people of Iran and the citizens of Israel are innocent. The citizens on both sides. But to continue. Just to recap, President Trump told senior aides that he approved of attack plans for Iran, but was holding off on giving the final order. Since his private instructions in the White House, Trump has disclosed publicly that an attack is an option. He said a few things. First of all, he was like, if I were president, I'll solve this in 24 hours. After he got elected, he said, wait till I'm president, we'll solve this in 24 hours. Once he were elected, he was like, give us 2 weeks. Nobody could solve this in 24 hours. Now he's like, maybe within 24 hours, I'm going to bomb the Middle East and enter another endless war because I can't stick up to Netanyahu whatsoever in any capacity. It is pure weakness of leadership pulling us into this. To continue, at the Pentagon, sorry, let me go back a paragraph. Israel began its airstrikes against Iran's nuclear infrastructure, military leadership, and other targets last week to lay the groundwork, dubbing the mission Operation Rising Lion. The Israeli military has struck more than 1,100 targets in Iran and killed hundreds of people. Bibi needs to go. I agree. I feel like that shouldn't be controversial, right? The idea that both Hamas regarding Gaza and Bibi need to go, that both sides are pretty effing extreme. Israel began its airstrikes against Iran's nuclear infrastructure, military leadership, and other targets last week. At the Pentagon, officials said the admin was considering options for conducting an attack on Iran, but the president hasn't given a final order. So far, the U.S. has limited its military role to assisting Israel in defending against Iranian missiles and drones, but Trump is clearly just getting pulled along this entire time. Completely pulled along. Someone said, we need to stay out of this for real. Yeah. And here's the thing, guys. Please keep in mind, we have 11,000 people watching. Please keep in mind, President Trump can't unilaterally launch any full-scale offensive strike against Iran without congressional support. The only way he can is if he's using it as an act of direct self-defense. The Constitution, the War Powers Resolution in particular, prohibit the president from unilaterally authorizing strikes. That is very, very important. So it's wild that Trump is unilaterally approving these strikes like he doesn't care. At the end of the day, Congress holds the power to declare war. It's in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the U.S. Constitution. Thank you, Clive. Clive said, liked the stream. Hell yeah. Let me see. Here's what we can read right here. Okay, this is from Cornell Law School. The Legal Information Institute. War powers. War powers refer to Congress and the President's constitutional powers over military or armed conflicts by the United States. In Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the Constitution, it grants Congress the power to declare war. The President derives the power to direct the military after a congressional declaration of war from Article 2, Section 2. The presidential power is titled as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. These provisions require cooperation between the President and Congress regarding military affairs. One more time, it means you need cooperation. Nevertheless, presidents have engaged in military operations without express congressional consent. I think these are important things to cover. I know sometimes people find the legalese kind of boring, but I really like it. I really like reading some of the legal core documents. Like, we can read the constitutional document in a second, but I want to continue with the breaking news. Do you guys like reading some of the core legal documents? Is that something we should do more? Here is a video from YouTuber Vlad Vexler. I'm going to link this in chat because this dude is one of my favorite YouTubers. If you want to see how to spell his name, Vlad Vexler. Let's watch this because he does a really solid breakdown, and then we'll continue to read.
Hello, very beautiful community. The latest is that Donald Trump has said that everybody, quote, should immediately evacuate Tehran. I want to react not just to what's obviously worrying about that statement, but to the politics behind it. So let's read it in full. Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame, a waste of human lives. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Now, apart from the obvious, which is that this indicates a US involvement and that it is indecent in its casualness, right? A global leader telling millions of people in a city to do something they can't do, a bit like Putin telling New Yorkers to leave New York overnight. Apart from the obvious, what's the political significance of a statement like this? And I think there are two bits to this political significance. The less important bit, which is still very important, is that it introduces just another few drops into what is already a building reservoir of breakdown of confidence in the predictability of US power. So this feeds into global uncertainty in how the United States will act. The United States is now itself a central source of global uncertainty, and nothing could be a greater illustration of the dissolution of the post-1999 global order.
Sorry to pause it, but he also posted on his community, I find this fascinating. Trump said, quote, everyone should evacuate Tehran immediately. That line is a sadistic version of narcissistic supply, wanting drama, and specifically drama in which others suffer mentally or physically. Now, Vlad Vexler introduced this concept of narcissistic supply to me in a video a while back, and he was talking about Vladimir Putin. And I'm going to try to summarize it as fairly as possible, but I haven't watched this video in a while. He was essentially saying part of the reason that Trump was mean to Zelensky in the Oval Office, and part of the reason that Trump looks up to Vladimir Putin so much is because he uses he uses Putin as a source of narcissistic supply. Trump is a narcissist through and through, a malignant narcissist. He doesn't have reality tests or walls around him to push back. He just cares about his own ego. So when he talks to more powerful leaders, we see this with people like Putin or Xi Jinping or even Kim Jong-un, he gets a source of narcissistic supply. Like I think of it as like a high in his head. He's like, yes, I'm the best. But when he looks at people like Zelensky, he wants to demean them and be rude to them because he views Zelensky as lesser. So this kind of rewired the way I think of Trump in the way he interacts with other world leaders. A lot of people in my audience think that Trump is genuinely bought off by Putin. Like, I've had this argument with you guys a lot. Some people think that Trump literally gets like payments from Putin every month, but it's not even that. I think Trump just uses Putin as a source of narcissistic supply, as Vlad says. You know, I'm going to link his channel in the description. Go show him some love, because he's really one of the best YouTubers out there.
But there is a second worse element to this. There is a disinhibiting, cartoonish quality to this that encourages citizens.
Sorry, someone said annoying clickbait title, nothing happened. No, Trump has approved attack plans for Iran, but has then said he's withholding the final order to do it. We'll cover this one more time, but sorry, I just want to finish this video.
To this, that encourages citizens to think that politics is a cartoon, that politics is a soap opera, that politics is half real but half fictional. It encourages citizens to relate to politics by giving up on the notion of truth. Because this kind of clown show must mean that this is indistinguishable from our other consumerist and entertainment-driven activities. And if we relate to politics like that, if we relate to politics as being at least half soap opera, then the risk is that we are going to end up giving up on the idea that there is such a thing as getting the world right at all. We're going to end up thinking that we should just say and proclaim whatever it is that serves our side. And that feeling is encouraged because citizens who are already distrusting, who are already very suspicious that they're being misled and mistreated by elites.
Sorry, someone in the chat said, "Why is the title not right?" No, the title is right. Trump has approved attack plans for Iran and is withholding the final order. I'll read this article one more time in just a second.
Are very liable to getting so suspicious that they give up not just on the idea that the elites might be telling them the truth, but the idea that anyone could possibly tell them the truth. They're going to give up altogether on trying to get the world right. And when you do that, it's not just that your politics becomes cartoon, that your politics becomes consumerism entertainment. It's that your politics also fascicizes. Because you come to think that it's okay to say or do whatever you say or do, as long as you're powerful enough to get away with it. So there's a very corrosive, if you like, post-truth disinhibiting effect to Trump communication.
Sorry to cut off Vlad, but we have some breaking news on the stream. Breaking news. Trump is getting closer, or sorry, one second. Let me pull this up. Trump is getting comfortable with strikes on Iran's nuclear facility, source says.
Getting involved carries big risks for the United States, which is why Democrats are calling for congressional approval before the president takes action.
Yeah, we want congressional approval because, as we were just covering, you know, war powers refers to Congress and the president's constitutional powers, and the U.S. Constitution grants Congress the power to declare war. It also grants Congress the power of the purse, but we know that Trump kind of just delegated that off to Elon Musk anyways. But to continue back with this article.
Getting involved carries big risks for the United States, which is why Democrats are calling for congressional approval before the president takes action. Military involvement is also politically risky for the president among his supporters.
Campaign rally after campaign rally, Donald Trump promised his supporters as president he would end the wars in Ukraine and Gaza on day one.
On day one, he said. On day one. President Trump is getting comfortable with the idea of taking out Iran's Fordo nuclear facility, a source familiar with the intelligence told ABC News. It would not just be one strike on the facility, it would be several, the source says. There is now a movement to get ready for this, the source added. There has been no response from the Iranians regarding the ongoing nuclear talks, likely because of the way Trump demanded an unconditional surrender. I'm sorry, are you telling me Trump's form of diplomacy is effing stupid and doesn't work? That's news to me. But, okay. The White House says all options remain on the table, but the lawmakers are moving quickly, trying to say the War Powers Resolution of 1973 says you can't use unauthorized strikes on other countries. Congress has to have a say before the U.S. enters another conflict, which in a roundabout way, in a direct way, gives the American people a say. So one more time, just the War Powers Resolution is like Congress has to have the final say before a strike, because when Congress has a say, that is much more representative of the people of each separate district or state. Therefore, the people get a say before the U.S. enters another conflict in the Middle East, another Middle Eastern conflict. And Trump is now getting comfortable with strikes on an Iranian facility. Trump is trying to engage the MAGA base with Vice President J.D. Vance to see what their reaction would be to American strikes against Iran. I mean, we can go check out Trump's Truth Social and just read some of the comments. That's about the border. Let's see. Let's read some of the comments on his last post about Iran. He's not posting about it much. Notice that. Great poll numbers for Trump. I like how he puts it in quotes. Who's he quoting? Who says no? Nobody's saying this. Why are there quotes? Sorry, I'm looking for any post about Iran. Oh, wait. What about this one? We now have complete and total control over the skies of Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment. And by the way, we're straight in the source right now. We're digging around in the mud on truthsocial.com. Holy. This is going to like give me a mental illness. So you are admitting that the U.S. is directly involved in a war, the complete opposite of what you preached during your campaign. We voted for peace, Mr. President. You have officially killed the Republican Party. Trump killed the Republican Party a while ago, Mike Cullum. Why do we have controls over the sky of Iran? We are not at war with Iran. Israel is. Trump, we do not want to fight another war for Israel, says Texas Bob. Texas Bob. Bro, get off Truth Social, Texas Bob, please. I know that I'm scrolling through, but we're doing it for a different reason. Trump, we do not want to fight another war. Let them handle their own fuck-ups and deal with the consequences of their actions. And then more cult stuff. More cult stuff. Who's making these memes? Russia? These are such Russian memes. So, are we in the middle of another regime change war for Israel? I am so disgusted, heartbroken, and disappointed. I did not vote for this. You were the president that was supposed to bring peace. Someone said, who the hell is Texas Bob? I don't know. Why are you asking me? I don't know who Texas Bob is. I mean, you can just guess, just some random Trump supporter who thought that Trump was going to end all the wars. Aren't you supposed to go to Congress for a declaration of war? You just decided to bomb another country on your own? What's tomorrow, bomb Russia? This is not what I voted for at all. And these are Truth Socialites. These are Truth Socialites. Let's see. Trump put in quotes. One second. Disable my ad blocker. Okay, then ads pop up. Wow. Trump rating tracker. Majority don't want U.S. involved in Iran-Israel conflict, and his approval rating is hitting kind of new lows. President Trump's approval rating was below 46% in a wave of new surveys, including one that was truly bad. 41% still somehow approve. The survey also found that Trump's approval rating is underwater when it comes to his handling of Iran, with 37% approval. Let's watch the live tracker of Trump's approval rating. Ooh. This is it. How popular is Donald Trump? Look at this, dude. Oh my Lord. So there are a few different lines that you want to pay attention to right here. You can see Obama in 2009 when he was at the beginning of his term. Obama in 2009. And naturally, you'll see a decline. So naturally, you see Obama's goes down, 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 because, you know, presidents begin to make errors and the reality sets in and the hope of the campaign kind of dies down as Congress gets into play. But Obama only dropped from like 36% down to, I don't know, 20% by this time, 18%. Biden went from 14 to about 11, 9 at this time. Trump went from +4 down to -12%. Only rivaled by his first term where he was at -13%. He is a stone cold liar. I feel like Governor Newsom says it in a bit more of an intense way. Governor Newsom's really intense when he says that. He's like, he's a liar. He's a stone cold lie. Like, Governor Newsom's in a drama movie right now, for real. How popular is Donald Trump? Pretty unpopular. And then when he posts on Truth Social, he goes, great poll numbers for Trump, in quote. Who are you quoting? Who are you quoting? Can I just make shit up and put it in quotes? Like, I'm going to tweet out right now, Adam is the #1 channel on YouTube, and just put it in quotes and see if that effing makes it true. Let's keep reading these Truth Social comments. We are done playing nice. It's only America first now. Other countries won't be. It's not America first. It's not. And by the way, who's making these dramatic photos? What am I looking at? Stolen election? We know it. They know it. Now the world will know it. I have a lot of gay friends, and having this in your camera roll is gayer than anything they've ever said to me. Why do you have photos of Hunter Biden in your camera roll? This is just, it's getting weirder and weirder. What if by the end of scrolling through Truth Social, we were all just brainwashed entirely? Okay, David Whitmore says, so you were getting into this war. So much for your America First promise. People need to wake up and realize we are ruled by a uniparty that is controlled by another country before our once great country collapses. Mr. President, I have always seen you as the greatest president, at least in my lifetime, because you always get things done, but please do not authorize this war with Iran. Millions of people could die, and fingers will be pointed at you, just like it always is with Bush. You don't need that legacy. FJ Marcliffe, thank you. Israel stated that they carried out 3 preemptive strikes that took out Iran's nuclear facilities. So what exactly would Trump be bombing? Yeah, I guess he would just be doubling down and hitting other... Well, I guess he's going for the Fordo area, which may be a different area than what Israel originally hit. But one more time, Trump is getting comfortable with strikes on Iranian facilities.
Iran specifically right now, Donald Trump is now becoming increasingly comfortable with striking Iran, specifically the Fordo nuclear facility in Iran. According to ABC News, preparations are being taken now to possibly launch this strike, which would drag the United States into a conflict with Iran. Now, this wouldn't be one strike on the Fordo facility. This would take multiple strikes to destroy the nuclear facility. And according to ABC News, at this hour, he is becoming more comfortable with launching this strike. As I told you earlier, the Wall Street Journal reported that Donald Trump actually greenlit military operations against Iran last night, but it has yet to be executed because Trump is waiting to see whether or not Iran will actually abandon its nuclear program before Trump takes action. But it is looking increasingly likely that as soon as tonight, you could have B-52, B-2 bombers in the air and launching bunker busters at this specific nuclear facility. I'll provide you updates every step of the way. Subscribe to my Substack at the link in my bio to support my work and follow along.
This is wild. One second.
Will America strike Iran? Will America drop the Moab, the mother of all bombs? Will America be alongside Israel here? Is that a good idea? We have run on America first, and I've been very critical of potential American involvement, but I trust President Trump in this moment. Clearly, I think he is going to do the right thing for the United States and for Western civilization.
2024, Kamala Harris is walking us into World War III. Is World War III brat? Again, in 2024, the Biden-Harris regime was too weak to prevent the war in the Middle East. A vote for Trump is a vote for peace and security. A vote for Harris is a vote for war, chaos, and outright treason. That's what Charlie Kirk was saying before the election. He was so anti-war, voting for the anti-war candidate. Fast forward to now. Donald Trump is flirting with the idea of attacking Iran, getting the United States into a war. Charlie Kirk's response is not to slam it, is not to condemn it. He's like, you know what? I trust Trump. I think he'll make the right decision. Pathetic and hypocritical. And if you believe in Donald Trump in this moment to make the right decision, then I have a bridge to sell you. All of Donald Trump's former generals and handpicked national security advisors have come out and said that, yeah, he's totally incompetent and knows nothing about the military. Republicans like Charlie Kirk told you, me, and everyone that Kamala Harris was going to send our sons and daughters to war. Now it seems like Donald Trump is on the verge of doing that. Pathetic.
Sorry, that last part was really loud, but very pathetic. JD Vance's Blue Sky account is back. Check it out. Let's check this out. What did he even post? Sorry, I didn't see his original post because he got banned so quickly. I still think he's banned. JD Vance was immediately banned after joining Blue Sky. Now the account is back. He said, "Hello, Blue Sky." One second. He said, "Hello, Blue Sky. I've been told this app has become the place to go for common sense political discussions." And then after that, he got banned, and then he's back. So I'm thrilled to be here to engage with you all. And he talks about deferring to the experts regarding sex transition treatments. To that end, I found Justice Thomas's concurrence on medical care for transgender youth quite illuminating. He argues that many of our so-called experts have used bad faith arguments in substandard science to push experimental therapies. He then says, "I might add that many of those scientists are receiving substantial resources from Big Pharma to push those medicines on kids. What do you think?" Walker says, "This is misinformation. Virtually every major medical association supports gender-affirming care, no matter which bought-off right-wing justice tries to suggest otherwise. Rightist ideology is a threat to science." He immediately got couched, like you said. Damn. All right, to continue, let's see the breaking news. Putin says Israel has agreed to ensure safety of Russians working at an Iranian nuclear plant. Whew, I was really worried about that. Damn. Yeah, the fact that Pete Hegseth is the defense secretary at the worst time doesn't bear anything good, honestly. To continue.
Okay, this is the biggest
ever made.
James, you've done a great job.
James Carville on Fox News.
James, you've done a great job in calling out your party, calling out the left on honestly how it's kind of become a weenie when it comes to men, condescending and talking down and ostracizing men. I've heard you say that. But I think you got a deeper problem in the way that the left is talking about America.
Well, if I took everything that they all said, it wouldn't amount to what Mike Lee said, who's actually a United States Senator, who actually said something very harmful and very hurtful and has not apologized for it. So, I mean, we can go on. I'm not here to defend Whoopi Goldberg. She makes enough money. She has a big enough forum to do that. That's not any kind of a problem. Bobby Kennedy is going to kill more people than any cabinet secretary maybe in history with his idiotic vaccine policy, which is the greatest public health intervention in the history of the world of vaccines.
Okay, James, you've done...
So true. This is the point I always make. From the right, it is top down from people in power. I mean, you can talk about whatever you want on the left, but from the right, you have RFK Jr. currently causing deaths. On the right, you have Elon Musk walking through, and what was the first one he cited?
It wouldn't amount to what Mike Lee said.
Oh, Mike Lee, sorry, yeah. Mike Lee is posting some of the most vile stuff on the planet and not apologizing.
I'll defend the Democratic Party. Democratic Party's been the...
Oh my God. They keep using this one photo. This one photo. They think that every Democrat, they think this is like our next presidential candidate or something.
I'll defend the Democratic Party. Democratic Party's been the most effective political party in the history of the world. It started Social Security. It brought civil rights. It brought women's rights. It brought gay rights. It brought the last party to bring a balanced budget to the United States of America. Okay? It shepherded the United States through the greatest age of prosperity it ever had, the 90s. The Democratic Party really does not need me to defend it. It has a record. It does.
Mike Lee clearly needs to resign. I totally agree. Trump has privately approved attack plans. Off the back of that, we learned Trump is getting increasingly comfortable with strikes on Iran's nuclear facility. Hi, long sub, saw the Tucker premiere. Tucker wants to nuke Iran for Ted's claims that Iran's gov tried to assassinate Dump. I'm Swede, pro-democracy. I haven't watched the full interview. I don't know if that's true. Trump is in the Jeffrey Epstein list, equals Trump let go to war. Yeah, Trump's like, let's go to war. We can't forget he is in the Jeffrey Epstein list, and Elon Musk admitted that. All right, to continue. President Trump is getting comfortable with the idea of taking out Iran's Fordo nuclear facility after saying that not only he'd end global wars, create peace across the globe, be the peacetime president, but Trump is trying to engage the MAGA base with Vice President Vance to see what their reaction would be. The president has been briefed on security, but as some of these articles read, a lot of people think the MAGA coalition won't survive this. It'll fall apart. The foreign policy of Donald Trump, as captured by the simplistic slogan, peace through strength, but he doesn't even do that. Peace through strength, a prime example of that, would be arming Ukraine to the absolute teeth, giving Ukraine leverage by saying we may allow them in NATO, giving Ukraine leverage by saying we will never back down. Showing strength right there would actually long-term create peace, in the same way that sticking up to Hitler in 1939 I don't know, may have in some ways changed the course of history, but I don't know. Will he or won't he join Israel in attacking Iran, perhaps by dropping bunker-busting bombs on a mountain where the Iranians have hidden parts of their nuclear program? Will he or won't he line up with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to go even further? If Trump does give the order to attack, he will lose a large and especially zealous part of his America First crowd. And how many times have regime changes worked in the Middle East? Of course, we can concede that the current Iranian government is authoritarian, and the citizens, we should stand with the citizens unequivocally. But I just don't know if the U.S. doing another regime change is going to work. How many times has it worked? And I ask that obviously in sarcastically. It hasn't worked that many times, or ever. Those fans whom he previously promised he would be a peacemaker, that he, unlike previous or Republican presidents, getting tired, he, unlike previous Democratic or Republican presidents, would keep the United States out of forever wars and ill-fated regime change missions such as those in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya, which he has used to excoriate his predecessors. His MAGA vow was that he would act in the interests of America only and no other country, allied or not, but he has immediately backed down on that exact thing. To sense how Iran plays out in this demo, we have another video. Wait, really quickly. I haven't watched this one yet. Can we live react to the Slotkin one?
Senator.
This is the person who would be leading our military, who is leading our military, but who would be at a time of war. I have not watched this clip yet. Is it good? Is the Slotkin one good? I've watched the rest of the hearing, but I missed this part.
Senator Slotkin.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I said in your hearing, when you had your confirmation hearing, that my biggest concern with you at the helm was the potential use of the military in ways that contradict the Constitution or that taint what I hope we all want, which is an apolitical military. And when I asked you about whether you would accept an order that was actually given to your predecessor, Secretary Esper, Trump's SecDef, to deploy active duty troops against unarmed protesters and to, in Secretary Esper's words, shoot at them, shoot at their legs. You said this was all theoretical. Here we are, a few months later. You've deployed 4,700 troops to Los Angeles and against the wishes of the governor. And my colleague across the aisle was right. It is the first time since 1965 that we have deployed Guard troops without the permission of the governor. In all the instances he laid out, the president had sent in the military to protect protesters, not against the protesters. So you may dismiss it, but I feel like this is a fundamental issue of American democracy. If you love your country and you want an apolitical military, then it should be the last resort, not the first resort in our country to use them. So to get to the non-theoretical, have you authorized the uniformed military to detain or arrest protesters in Los Angeles?
Senator, I would just start by saying You're not a protester if you're throwing concrete
100%.
at law
Arrest those
enforcement
people.
officers.
Throw them in the jail. 100%. But what you're doing is something different. Everyone knows this is a political decision.
See, that was good. She bit the bullet right there. A lot of people get caught up trying to defend things that you shouldn't defend. Bite the bullet, move on, pin them down.
We dismiss it, but I feel like this is a fundamental issue of American democracy. If you love your country and you want an apolitical military, then it should be the last resort, not the first resort in our country to use them. So to get to the non-theoretical, have you authorized the uniformed military to detain or arrest protesters in Los Angeles?
Senator, I would just start by saying you're not a protester.
Bite the bullet, that's the truth. Yeah, of course. By bite the bullet, I mean, people just get too caught up arguing things they shouldn't argue with. Just say.
You're throwing concrete
100%.
at law
Arrest those
enforcement
people.
officers.
Throw them in the jail. 100%. But what you're doing is something different. Everyone knows this is a political decision, right? So we don't trust that you're using the best interests of the military, certainly, and of democracy on top of that. So have you given the order? That's all I want to know. It's not theoretical. For the U.S. military, not law enforcement. They can arrest all day long. That's their job. Do they have the ability, the uniformed military, to arrest and detain protesters currently today? It's a yes or no thing. Authority.
It's sort of amusing the extent to which the speculation is out there. These troops are given very clear orders.
Then what is the order? Then list it out for us. Be a man. List it out. Did you authorize them to detain or arrest? That is a fundamental issue of democracy. I'm not trying to be a snot here. I'm just trying to get the actual. Did you authorize them to do that?
All of these orders and what they're sent there to do are public. They are there
so
to
say it. So say it. Yes or no?
I'd like to.
Please, yes or no?
Answer, bro. What?
No.
As I've said time and time again through interruption, they're there to protect law enforcement.
Do they have
ICE
the ability
officers
to?
She said, "Be a man."
Arrest.
Who are trying to do their job, deporting illegals who were allowed in by the previous administration.
So they cannot arrest and detain citizens of the United States, the uniformed military.
As we've stated, if necessary, in their own self-defense, they could temporarily detain and hand over to ICE. But there's no arresting going on. And you know this better than you're trying to play political games. There's no arresting of U.S. personnel.
Of the U.S. military against members of the protest. Have you authorized U.S. military cyber tools to investigate people participating in these protests? Yes or no?
Certainly in no way that I'd be aware of.
Okay, that's good. I love that answer. That's great. Have you given the order for...
It like hurts him to give a real answer. That like hurt him physically.
Yes or no?
Certainly in no way that I'd be aware of.
Okay, that's good. I love that answer. That's great. Have you given the order to be able to shoot at
Senator Kelly in the background, like, damn, I wish I could grill as hard as she is.
Unarmed protesters in any way? I'm just asking the question. Don't laugh. Like the whole country. And by the way,
This was me getting yelled at in high school all the time. Damn.
I'm just asking the question. Don't laugh. Like the whole country. And by the way, my colleagues across the aisle.
What is that based on? What evidence would you have that an order like that has ever been given?
Giving that order to your predecessor, to a Republican Secretary of Defense, who I give a lot of credit to because he didn't accept the order. He had more guts and balls than you because he said, I'm not going to send in the uniformed military to do something that I know.
She's using gendered language on purpose, obviously.
My gut isn't right. He was asked to shoot at their legs. He wrote that in his book. That's not hearsay. So your poo-pooing of this, it just shows you don't understand who we are as a country, who we are. And all of my colleagues across the aisle, especially the ones that served, should want an apolitical military and not want citizens to be scared of their own military. I love the military. I served alongside my whole life, so I'm worried about you tainting it. Have you given the order? Have you given the order that they can use lethal force against honor? I want the answer to be no. Please tell me it's no. Have you given the order?
Senator, I'd be careful what you read in books and believing it, except for the Bible.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Think about like all the dialogue tree options that he could have picked right there. He picked the dumbest possible thing to say. Jesus Christ.
God. So your former predecessor, I guess that's not enough for you. Okay, on Iran. I don't think there's a debate. There's like a cat fight going on in your own party about whether to go after Iran. Have you commissioned any day after planning? So any force protection, any use of ground troops in Iran, any cost assessments? Because I don't think we doubt what we can do as a country in the attack. It's the day after with Iraq and Afghanistan that so many of us have learned to be so deeply concerned about. Have you authorized day after planning?
As I've said, we have plans for everything, Senator.
Okay.
And I would also reiterate how we began, that there will be a classified portion of this 15 minutes after we adjourn.
Brutal. Be a man, she says. Grow some balls, or whatever she says.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Till Savage, if I could just start with you. So how many customers do you have approximately?
What is this, Josh Hawley? On the 23andMe CEO? Putin doesn't even want to discuss the possibility of the U.S. killing Iran's leader. Oh my God. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he doesn't even want to discuss the possibility. It makes him sick to his stomach, he's probably thinking. He made the comment in response to a question while speaking to reporters on the sidelines of an economic conference. It comes after reports that U.S. President Donald Trump rejected an Israeli plan to kill Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah. In response to another question about Russia's strategic partnership with Iran, Putin said it, quote, does not include a clause on defense cooperation. Senior Senate Democrats emphasize the need for congressional involvement on the strategy. You know, we've talked about this a bit. I think it's important that we talk about the actual legality of it. War powers refers to Congress and the president's constitutional powers over the military. Article 1 of the Constitution grants Congress the power to declare war. The president derives the power to direct the military after a congressional declaration. These provisions require cooperation between the president and Congress regarding military affairs. Now, if we read this part of the Constitution, Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes. There we go, power of the purse. And also to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. Amazing.
Obviously, there's been a change from
when Putin says he doesn't even want to discuss this, that means Trump is stuck in a little bit between a little bit of a rock and a hard place. Because Russia and Iran have been deepening their cooperation in recent years with more strategic alliances. And you can say the same thing about Trump in Russia. So right now, Putin prefers that Iran is led by a regime that is friendly to Moscow, which it is led by a regime that is friendly to Moscow. So he doesn't want that much of change. But we will continue the breaking news throughout the night. I'm going to go record some videos. We just hit 1 hour on the stream. I appreciate every single person who joins. I mean, if you're still here, we do have some news. Soon I'm going to be formalizing Mockler Media. We are going to be starting a network where we have relentless pushback against MAGA. All facts, all truth, all day, pushing back in a way that MAGA won't expect, and we are going to blow it out of the water. So if you want to support, make sure you hit subscribe below. You can drop a like on the stream. You can become a member. It's going to consist of daily live streams, a new live stream show. We are building a studio. We're going to be doing more debates where we own MAGA figures. We post clips, the clips go viral, and we win back power. We're going to be building a media company run by me, a Gen Zer, but for everybody, all ages, anybody. So if you're excited, then subscribe below. I love you all. I'll see you in the next video. This was a fun live stream. The live streams are fun, even when the content's not very fun. So we'll keep doing it. If you made it this far in the stream, after